Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Lofi Mafia podcast. I'm Lynne.
I'm Isa or Jenna.
And I'm Jase.
Today, we will be discussing a very exciting topic for the three of us. We'll be discussing the new Star Wars show that just came out on Disney Plus, The Bad Batch. So, what is everyone's, I guess, initial thoughts on like the characters, like episode direction, or even like just favorite things that you've seen throughout the entirety of the show so far with these four episodes. And before we get into discussion, I will have to preface and say there will be spoilers for at least the first four episodes of the first season. So if you haven't seen it, please go watch them. They're absolutely beautiful and a great story. And I think a lot of people new or old to the Star Wars scene will enjoy them.
So ye be warned, spoilers ahead. And
Yeah.
probably a lot of geeking out if we're being honest.
For real. The fact that we're all just the three of us are just massive Star Wars nerds
We'll
will
try to
allude to the fact
we'll
that
try
we'll
to tone it
ramble
down.
along.
It'll be toned down somewhat, maybe. We might lose some self-control throughout it, but we'll do our best. I guess I can go first, but I'd say I was definitely excited. Like when they showed up at in the last season of Clone Wars. She was only for I think what was it, 2, 3 episodes, if my memory's correct.
Yeah, I think the first three, the first four episodes were definitely dedicated towards the first arc with the Bad
Mhm.
Batch and
And,
just their characterization as
mhm.
well.
And the original name is Clone Force 99, which I really love just because it plays an homage to the clone named 99, who's like I think it was a defective one, right? And then
Yeah,
Yes.
he appeared in season 3 during the Domino Squad arc.
he
But
did indeed.
and I'm
The
trying to remember who's in Domino Squad, 'cause it was Heavy, Fives, Echo, and like two others I'm missing, I think. Maybe one.
Droid bait and cut up.
mhm.
Ah! Wow, you have really good memory. I have goldfish level memory most of the time, for being completely honest here.
To be fair, there are a lot of
Dro-
clones.
Droid bait was the first one who got shot,
Oh,
and
really?
then cut up was the one who was making a joke when he got eaten.
And then Heavy, heroic last stand.
Oh, heavy.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
Live on
was the
throne.
first like big like sacrifice scene in Clone Wars, but it's the one that's definitely stood out to me the most, honestly.
I think
That
it's
was
what
like first 5 episodes, so probably.
Oh,
Yeah, it's definitely what separated the Clone Wars from like any other kids show, really. Like, of course, it was still kind of a kids show in like the first three seasons, but it wasn't like, oh yes, we're having our little adventures. It's more of like, this is war.
I keep forgetting that there was two separate arcs because they did the rookies arc first, and then a couple seasons later they did Domino Squad. I keep thinking like Domino Squad came first or whatever, so that confuses me.
They kind of went back and forth with the timeline. There should
Mm-hmm.
be a like an option on Disney Plus to, you know, folk to like be able to watch the Clone Wars in chronological order. But
Actually,
alas,
Lucasfilm, I think it was Lucasfilm or Lucasfilm Star Wars something did post out like a thing listing old episodes in chronological order, which is kind of neat.
oh, very
Yeah,
nice.
and they also have the real order,
But anyway,
the unfinished animations. Yeah.
yeah. So the Clone Wars 99 kind of playing homage to the original defective clone, I thought was really nice. And seeing them appear, I guess, kind of counts as our introduction, I guess, to clone commandos in the show. Because in
Would you
the.
say that's
Try,
kind of like an homage to like the old Commando books? Because I know I'm not too familiar with them. I know Jenna is more familiar with them than I am. Like
Uh,
Delta
Um,
Squad as well.
Delta Squad was the one I was thinking of. It's the what was it? It was I forgot what game it was, but it was Boss, Sev, Scorch, and the fourth one's name escapes me.
The Republic Commandos?
Fix-
Ooh.
Fixer.
Fixa sounds right. That sounds right, I think. But I think that's what the Clone Force 99 was based on, because I don't believe Delta Squad ever made an appearance.
So they did.
They
If
did?
y'all remember, like it was a brief cameo. If y'all remember, like when Savago Press
Oh,
kind of started doing stuff, and those clones brought the bodies of two Jedi
okay.
back to the temple. That was Delta Squad.
Okay. But
That's right.
but it was just a cameo if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
And then we also got Gregor.
Gregor.
I
Yes,
but
Gregor.
as for like actual like fleshed out personalities, we didn't get that until like Bad Batch. So I for one really like it.
So I think, correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm misremembering, but the squad that Crosshair was training in what was it, episode 3, I think it was. Is
Yeah.
that the origin of Death Troopers, do you think?
I
Ooh,
was
that's a good
I was
idea.
thinking. Okay. First off, am I misremembering this? But are Shadow Troopers and Death Troopers exact same, or am I just confused?
Did we ever have Shadow Troopers in canon?
I could have sworn they've appeared in canon. I just don't remember where, but I could have sworn I've seen them somewhere in canon.
I'm pretty sure they're more heavily Legends based than
Okay.
canon based. I know they do play some roles in like Battlefront, but I think they were more at least for Shadow uh Troopers, they were more leaning towards Legends than canon. I think they only they only made their canon quote unquote appearance in Battlefront.
I mean, but I think Iz is right. That could just be the origin of the elite stormtrooper variant. But anyway, what are y'all's, I guess, or rather overall thoughts on the show itself?
I, for one, absolutely love the cinematography, and the art and the animation is just, oh, chef's kiss. I'm really glad that they kept up with the original Clone Wars. Kind of, I don't know how to describe. It's like a very distinct Clone Wars style that they've developed, where it's kind of like everything looks like it's etched in wood and very detailed. And the way that they've also transformed from kind of this crude trying to figure out things back in like 2008 with their animation style to now where it's just it everything's so pristine, it looks really real and genuine. And even from like season 7 of the Clone Wars, the last season and so on, they've been able to refine their animation style and make it look like so pretty. Like that first scene whenever you watch the first episode of the Bad Batch, of that one scene with young baby Kanan, or Caleb as he's now called, um back in the flashback. Um just the planet and all the different biomes that they explore as well is
Mhm.
very, oh gosh, I could go on and on about that, but I just it was just amazing to see that transformed into the Bad Batch. And I also just love exploring all the different character dynamics. Like um I've told you guys this before, but I think Wrecker is now my new favorite because he's just he's such a fun-loving guy, and he and all the other clones in the Bad Batch also mesh really well and have interesting dynamics as well between each other. Also, the music. So glad that Kevin Kiner is doing the soundtrack again for this.
I definitely like what you're saying about cinematography is just insane. I think what really stood out to me was I believe it was episode 2 where Omega is just touching the dirt and just
Yes,
seeing that
that was so
just
symbolic.
I know it was so simple, but just the way it looked was just absolutely phenomenal in my opinion. Like so well done. Like I honestly love the people like involved with it. Like the animators, Dave Filoni. Oh my gosh, Dave Filoni's a legend.
Oh,
He
what a
did he
king!
did Clone Wars. He did this. He did Avatar. Oh, Last Airbender is clarification, just in case someone doesn't know who he is.
Not the blue people.
No, no. Dave Filoni it truly is an absolute genius. But I think like the most impressive thing goes to D. Bradley Baker.
Hands down. Just the voice work as well. Making
So,
sure that each one sounds distinct, but also has the same
mhm,
like Jango Fett clone,
mhm.
um, accent.
For those of you who might not know, D. Bradley Baker is the voice actor for every single anime clone. Meaning that in the Bad Batch, he's voicing all of the Bad Batch, except for Omega, of course. I mean, if he did voice Omega, like that'd be actually pretty impressive, not gonna lie. But he didn't.
I
I
mean,
checked.
another flex on his part. An interesting thing that I was really happy to see was that Ming Na Wen, she reprised
Mm,
her role as Fennec
mm,
from The Mandalorian. Fennec appears in episode 4,
mm,
and just saying that was really genuine too, and
mm,
I'm glad they didn't just like recast someone. It was just
mm.
like in The Mandalorian when I saw
Yes, Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan's actress um, reprised her role, because then you got to hear her voice, but also she looked like the character too.
I
It was
lost
just
my mind when I saw the armor, because I was like, wait, there's no way that, because I recognize that, I think it's, they're called like Night Owls, right? I believe. The Splinter faction.
yes, yeah.
Mhm.
But just seeing that armor just caused me to completely just geek out. But like you're saying, like that crossover thing, going from like animation to live action or vice versa, and letting the actor like keep their role, is definitely something
Mhm.
that is amazing. So what would you say is your opinions on like each of the characters?
Well, I already said that I think Ricker is probably one of my favorites. um, I like his dynamics between just the banter. I think it was episode. Oh goodness, I can't remember. I think it was episode uh 2 or 3 where he and Heck just had like hilarious banter. I love characters that get along with each other through like just witty comebacks every time. They just keep on firing back witty comebacks about practically anything. I think it was in episode 2 whenever they were on Cut LaQuane's farm. Just their dynamic.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised to see Cut LaQuaine. Uh, but I think I've had to stay off social media because I've seen a lot of like hate towards characters recently. But honestly, I definitely sympathize with Crosshair. I feel really bad for him. And then
Justice
I
for
don't
my
know.
man Crosshair.
Don't know what's going on with all the dads popping up in Star Wars lately, but I'm here for it. Um, Hunter's trying his best. I think. Um,
I really do like the overall. It has like that nice kind of family dynamic. Like you got, as I said, we have the dad, we have Hunter, we have kind of the fun-loving uncle and Wrecker, and then we have Echo and Tech, who would say what kind of big brotherish kind of.
I think Echo is
uncles.
kind of like the provider, maybe, and then Tech is just like the older sibling that's like always right, you know. It's got the head their head on their shoulders, a good head on their shoulders, and just trying to deal with the younger sibling shenanigans. Cough cough wrecker.
Mhm.
As an older sibling, I can attest that this exists. I don't.
I think just the fact that I think already like they, or at least the vibe that's been trying to be, or the message I guess Filoni's trying to send is like they already had like a good dynamic, but of course like that changed with like Crosshair and his inhibitor chip kicking in, and then Omega joined the group. But I think all just them kind of being a family. I really love the concept of the what's the name of it? It's like I know I read it like once or twice in like literature. Lynn, you're an English nerd. Do you know what it's called?
Yes, as the English nerd, it's called two things. It's called either found family or family of choice, and usually it's basically when you know usually you'll have this character who's um by themselves, most likely an orphan, and they will pick up friends and companions along the way of their journey, and they will sort of start to establish very tight bonds based on shared circumstances, and through these tight bonds start to form what would look like a family even though they aren't blood related per se. And they it's just very neat and fun, and I think it's a good trope for people to especially for people who have broken families at home and just want to see good examples of families out there, even though there aren't very many. I don't know. It's just a lot of people like the trope. I like the trope a lot. What do you
Mhm.
guys think?
Oh, I'm an absolute sucker for the trope. I'm not gonna lie. Um,
We love to see it.
there's a very specific reason I love playing the BioWare games, and it's for that exact reason. I feel like I can ramble a lot about this. Jase, do you have anything to put in before I start talking about BioWare?
I mean, I I'll admit, like sometimes it's not done right. Sometimes, or just sometimes it feels really a bit cheesy or corny. But I'll be completely honest, like when it's done right, like it just leaves like a really nice kind of warm, fuzzy feeling. I think
I
Bad
feel
Batch
like
like
that's
does like a
a
perfect
lot of
job at
tropes
this.
too.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, you got me there. But I think like Bad Batch does like a really good job of it. I think I'm really looking forward. I think it's 16 episodes. It's like 12 more episodes.
Yes.
Hopefully, this
Yes, yes.
development.
Yes. It's such a long season, and I'm here for it.
But I'm also trying to think like other like franchises or stuff that are good examples of that.
So, got you there.
Voltron is a good one. Yeah, I think we talked about Voltron before, and then Jenna's
Yeah.
Bioware.
We touched Voltron briefly, I think. I only saw like first two seasons, and I never got to finish it, and I was very sad.
Uh, it
Voltron.
it was a wild ride.
That was a roller coaster of a
That was
show.
a roller coaster. We
I, I
we look
don't.
at it fondly, question mark, but we also it was a time and a half for real. But I think a
The
lot of
first,
Disney movies also incorporate the found family trope. But
yeah.
yes, as you were saying.
Okay, so very soft spoiler warning for Let me see. Mass Effect, Dragon Age, and Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Oh dear.
I will try not to do any too heavy spoilers. Mass Effect, I think, was probably the best for the found family trope since you have the same protagonist throughout all three games. But I think video games really work because you have the option to kind of talk to your crewmates outside of like main missions, and you get to bond with them. You get to see, especially if you have an older protagonist, like your younger crewmates, you can kind of put underneath your wing or something. I'm trying to think. I mean, Mass Effect, you can call Grunt, one of your Krogan buddies, your son, basically. And he does act like a newborn son because you hatch him. It's very weird. I'm not going to elaborate on that. BioWare's specialty with crafting distinct companions really helps you as the player, and then thus your protagonists fall in love with them. Then BioWare pulls stunts, like making you choose between two characters in a life or death situation. And that's kind of when you realize how much of an impact that your companions have on you. I don't know if I would necessarily specify it as found family. It kind of depends on how attached you get while playing video games. But overall, I think player agency has a big thing to do with your companions. And video games are hard because you don't have like a linear path you can take, especially with Bioware, you have kind of a tree branch of choices. You also have an instance in Dragon Age where you have to actually choose between one of your previous characters that you like, the protagonist that you played as, or a fan favorite companion. Because with the 3 Dragon Age games, you play as a different character each time. And in the third game, you have to choose, do you either sacrifice one of the characters that you played as, or do you sacrifice a companion? Star Wars: Old Republic, in one of the later expansions, you have the same scenario where, depending on with which class you're playing, you can either sacrifice someone that you romanced, someone who calls you their older sibling, another person who calls you their sibling, Mandalorian sibling, or but couple nobodies. But BioWare does such a good job of crafting companions that I think everyone definitely falls underneath that found family, and it makes the game a lot more enjoyable when you figure out who's who.
Some other like good examples, I think. At least one of my personal favorites is another show that Dave Filoni has worked on. In my opinion, definitely top 3. Top 3 is, for anyone interested, Star Wars: Clone Wars, Mandalorian, and Avatar: Last Airbender.
Woo!
Woo!
Don't ask me to decide how to rank them because it's going to change on a day-by-day basis. If we're being completely honest here. But I would say that I think Avatar does an amazing job. Like the Team Avatar, the found family trope between Aang, Sokka, Katara, and then eventually emo boy himself, Zuko.
Emo boy.
Boy, and I don't think Star Wars is new to the found family trope at all. I mean, you got examples like The Mandalorian, obviously, the Din Djarin dad, and then you have like the Rebels crew, the Ghost crew, just forming their little found family gang. And then I feel like within the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and the sequel trilogy, you'll find different found families with those. Like you've got the original trilogy, you got Luke Skywalker, Leia, Han, who kind of formed their tight knit group, and as well as Anakin when he's adopted into the Jedi Order in episode one, he's all by himself and he has to make sense of his surroundings with people and the bonds that he shares, albeit those bonds end up being terribly hurt by him. But we don't have to talk about that for now. But yeah, Star Wars and Disney isn't new at all to the found family trope, and I think I love how they, even though they've done this over and over and over again, they still are able to they're still able to make new twists and turns within the trope, which I feel like is very important in taking something that already exists and pushing it forward. You got to make sure that you add those little twists and turns to the point where we can say, man, a lot of people use this trope, but I love it anyway.
I think a good litmus test for the found family should be what is it? The quote from is it Brooklyn 99? It's like, "Do you see me as a father figure?" If you can, if you can fit characters into those spots and it makes sense, I think you have a found family right there.
Honestly, like I just think like it definitely is like an amazing trope. Like we have Star Wars, I think, like as Lynn was saying, is good. As Iz was saying, the BioWare games, like an example. Personally, for me, I think Avatar does really well. DC's Young Justice series, that was a really good series. I think does a pretty good
Absolutely.
job. Another one is the CW's Legends of Tomorrow. I don't know if either of y'all have seen that.
I have. I've only seen the first two seasons, but yeah, I could definitely see the found family trope in that one as
I've
well.
seen like I think first two seasons and because I made the mistake of trying to watch the whole Arrowverse in chronological order last
Oh
summer.
my word.
Mistakes
Oh
were
no.
made.
Oh
I
my
made it
word.
halfway through. I got burnt out so much, so I ended up stopping. But I need to pick it up again. But honestly, from like what I remember, like Legends was actually really really good. But the family trope definitely makes me think of. I think I heard it first from of all things the Lego Batman movie actually, and I think it was
Hey,
specifically from
you
like
gotta
the
learn
end.
it somewhere.
I think it's from the ending song, but the quote was like that friends are the family that you can choose. And I think that just embodies it perfectly.
Yeah, and I think another,
Hmm.
I guess, the classic found family uh, aspect is if we remember the line from Lilo and Stitch, Ohana means family, and family means nobody gets left behind. And I think that a lot of found family stories really emphasize and nail down that like nobody gets left behind fact because you'll see so many stories where people find this orphan person or whatever, I don't know, the main character who's forming this found family, and then something happens to one of the characters, they get left behind, quote unquote, and they have to go find and fight for them, which happens to Omega in the Bad Batch series a lot of times, and it just the Bad Batch continually reinforces the fact that Omega is their family now. They don't leave each other behind, even in this last episode with when they went to the Pantoran planet, and Echo. They needed to exchange Echo for credits. They went to go. They went to go back to retrieve him too. They were gonna make sure that, and along with Wrecker, when he also was left behind, they just they didn't want to leave their homies behind.
I think
Yeah.
though I just want to like emphasize like of course like family trope doesn't always have to like include like an orphan even though Lynn has said it several times. Like I think it could also apply to like someone wanting to like escape like an abusive family, let's say.
Hmm.
Like, sure, there's that saying that like blood is thicker than water, but not everyone. Like for me personally, like to get like real for a second, like I love my family. I'm incredibly close to them, and I admit like I'm very like blessed to have that. But I know that not everyone has that like luxury, unfortunately. So I definitely think like found family, of course, isn't something that's rooted or has to stay in fiction. It can like happen in real life. Like I was saying earlier, like friends are the family you can choose. Because while like I'm incredibly close to my family, I have several friends who I can say like I am definitely super close to. I not even exaggerating when I say like I would trust some of them like with my life. And they basically are like my second family.
Yeah, but even then, so the original quote, the that blood is thicker than water, is sometimes misconstrued. Sometimes I think the full quote is like the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, which means that the covenant, the quote unquote covenant that you make with your friends, is sometimes thicker than what you originally came from, because you don't choose where you come
Mm-hmm.
from. You choose the
Mm-hmm.
path that you go on to, and if you are choosing that, you're making an active choice to, pursue that, no matter what you came from, and no matter what that water of the womb is. Those covenants are what hold you fast and what are drive you. So it's going to be much stronger, obviously.
I mean, though, as a whole, though, I think just like reiterating like what was due, I think all of us are just suckers of various level for found family tropes just because they make us feel good.
Probably why I like the Bad
True.
Batch so
Very
much.
true.
What can
Just
I say? What
seeing
can I
people
I
say?
getting along.
I mean, I think the story could have like the worst plot ever. But if the characters really like each other and see each other as a family, I'm gonna stick with it to the end. Just for those interactions.
See, if I'm being honest, like if it's really cheesy, really corny, like I might be like a little bit like, oh, I don't know how much I can put up with this. Because I admit I can get secondhand embarrassment relatively easily. So
Yep.
sometimes I'll just be wanting to die in a hole. But at the same time, if like I have a slightly higher standards, but not by much. If it's like halfway decent, like a relatively like coherent or not coherent, linear story, then I'm gonna end up putting up with it.
Indeed. Any closing thoughts about like the Bad Batch, like their direction, or even like, I don't know, about the found family trope?
I would say, like for Bad Batch wise, like we have 4 episodes. It's supposed to be 16 total. We're quarter the way through. Like I'm excited, honestly, for the rest of it. Give me all the Star Wars content. Inject into my veins, please. But I will admit that I'm gonna be a little annoyed if Crosshair doesn't get a redemption arc.
Very valid.
I'm a riot if he doesn't.
What's gonna be worse is if that little thing in episode 3 was Wrecker's them alluding to his
Mm,
inhibitor chip working, because if that means that we
Yeah.
sacrifice Wrecker to get Crosshair back, not
Oh
gonna
no.
lie,
Don't make me cry.
I
No.
might end up bawling my eyes out. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Oh no. I'm scared. Yes, it'll be interesting to see exactly how Omega, like all the different theories about Omega too, like see which ones are right and which ones are wrong. It'll be like WandaVision all over again. We
Oh
make all
my
these
god.
theories and
WandaVision was more
we'll
headache inducing than anything, if I'm being honest.
see if they are right or not. We're all clowns.
Yeah, we
eh.
are to an extent. Anyway, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Lofi Mafia podcast. Also, we just want to thank you wonderful listeners. I might have accidentally called you all viewers earlier, even though technically you're listening. My apologies. I promise I'm good at words. Right, Jenna, right, Lynn?
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
Yep.
You can hear how confident they are in my abilities. But I just want to thank you
Hmm.
listeners so much for getting us to actually 14 subscribers at the time of this recording. I'll be honest, for me personally, I wasn't even expecting to break 10 subscribers. So the fact that we hit 14 is mind blowing to me. That there's that many people who enjoyed listening to us and wanted to keep being updated.
Yes, we love you guys.
Love y'all so much.
Yeah, if you enjoyed, go ahead, feel free to leave a like, subscribe to keep up to date. I'll admit that the first 2 episodes were a little bit sporadic due to us having school and all that, but hopefully throughout the summer we should be getting into a little bit more consistent schedule. I'm personally not sure how consistent it'll be, but we'll be posting updates on our social media. If you haven't already, go follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Lofi Mafia Pod. Links will be in the description below. Take care, y'all.
Bye, guys.